Abby Choi was a model, a style icon. She was a beautiful Hong Kong socialite who had a deep passion for fashion and designer goods. Abby was featured in several magazines, Elle, Harper's Bazaar, and Vogue. She was even titled a fashion icon and a trendsetter on the cover of L'Officiel Monaco magazine. Abby Choi was the next big thing in this fashion industry. But on February 21st, 2023, Abby's career was cut short as horrifying news broke out that Abby had gone missing. What happened to Abby? Did she run away? Or was someone plotting for this to happen to her all along? I do want to put a disclaimer that this case is pretty disturbing, so if you guys are eating or you're not interested in any gruesome details, please keep in mind that this is one of the more horrifying cases that we will be talking about today. So if you guys aren't interested, please be sure to skip out on this video, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. We will also be including a timestamp for when you guys can skip all of the gruesome details, so if you guys want to hear about the case but not about anything gruesome, then continue to watch. Before we talk about Abby's case, we have to talk about Abby's life. Abby Choi's early life started off pretty normal. There isn't too much information out there, but from what we know, she was born into a relatively ordinary family. At some point, her parents got a divorce, and her mother, Wuji Zhang Yanghua, remarried. I'm gonna try my best to pronounce everyone's name correctly, but if I do butcher it, I'm so sorry in advance. Abby stayed with her mother and stepfather, and life kind of just went on from there. While we don't know his first name, Abby's stepfather's surname was Choi, and Abby decided to take his last name. He gave Abby 2 half-siblings, and the happy little family lived together in Hong Kong, and they operated a restaurant named Ying Huang Fan Dim. At around the age of 15, Abby met a boy named Alex Kwong. Alex went to Chen Tzu Ki Memorial School, and Abby went to Kowloon Tong Secondary School. These 2 schools were right next to each other, and they were facing each other, but you couldn't really cross the street. In between the 2 schools, there was a railway track, and underneath the railway track, there was a walking tunnel that connected the 2 schools together, and it was known as the Lover's Tunnel. It was rumored that that was where Abby and Alex would meet often. Even though Abby had moved schools before she graduated, the couple grew really strong. Because at the age of 18, Abby and Alex announced that they were engaged, and both sides of the family, although shocked, they were also really happy for the couple. They loved each other so much, and they cared for each other so much. Everyone could see that. And they were together since they were 15. Abby's generosity made it so easy for her to grow close with her in-laws family, Alex's parents, and even Alex's brother Anthony. Abby and Alex had 2 children together, and life was going smoothly until their marriage ended about 3 years later. There was no information why the couple got a divorce, but it didn't seem like a bad divorce. Even after the couple separated, Abby was always involved in her children's life, and even kept close ties with her ex-husband and his family. Shortly after the divorce, about a year later, Abby meets and marries a man named Chris Tam. This guy was wealthy. He was the son of Tam Chuk Kwan, also known as a co-founder of a really big chain eatery called Tam Jai Yunnan Mixed-in Rice Noodles. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong. From what we know, their marriage was really healthy. And again, Abby grew really close with Chris's family. Abby would occasionally treat her mother-in-law to dinner and would also buy her gifts for her birthday and on Mother's Day. Chris's father even saw Abby as one of his own daughters. It was so clear that Abby was well liked by everyone around her. She was so kind-hearted, and she was such a family person because she somehow convinced Chris and Alex to be friendly with each other. And even after Abby and Chris had 2 children together, everyone was getting along, and it was almost like one really big happy family. It was literally everything Abby ever wanted. It was like the best case scenario for a divorce. During Abby's marriage with Chris was when her career as a model and a socialite skyrocketed. Abby had a deep love for Paris fashion houses, Louis Vuitton, Valentino, Gucci, Chanel, but her favorite was Christian Dior. She regularly attended Paris Fashion Week, and she started to gain a following on her social medias on both Facebook and Instagram. And in 2022, she had 100,000 followers. Everyone loved her. She was beautiful. She had this like glowing aura around her. She was featured on several magazines, Elle, Harper's Bazaar, Vogue, and one of her biggest accomplishments was being featured on the cover of L'Officiel Monaco magazine, where they praised her as a fashion icon and a trendsetter. Abby made a post on Instagram after finding out that she was on the cover of L'Officiel magazine. From Hong Kong to the cover of L'Officiel Monaco, my journey as a style icon continues. Grateful for this recognition and the continued support along the way. Abby Choi had definitely made a name for herself in the fashion industry, but even though through all of that, family was still the most important aspect in her life. Once Abby's career took off, Abby actually hired her ex-husband's brother, Anthony, to be her driver. They even shared a business together called Bear Bear Snack, which was a pancake stall that didn't do pretty well. But the fact that they were business partners and they were sibling-in-laws at one point showed how much they trusted each other and cared for each other. They had this really close sibling relationship, and all of Anthony's Instagram posts would have Abby tagged as sis with the hashtag bro and sis love. And when I tell you that Abby is so selfless, she is beyond selfless. She even bought her ex-husband's family an entire condo and helped her brother-in-law purchase a house. And although separated, she still saw them as family, and keeping them comfortable was one of her priorities. Up until this point, everyone seemed happy and healthy until we find out that Alex, Abby's ex-husband, would go off to the city to drop thousands and thousands of dollars a night on what we don't really know. And Anthony allegedly was sued by a bank for his unpaid debt in 2019. So just by that information, we can tell that the Kwong family is not smart with their money. So you guys are probably wondering how they're able to afford that luxury condo. Well, the luxury condo is allegedly not under Abby's name. It's under Kwong Kao's name, the former father-in-law. But Abby was a main provider for the condo. But one day, Abby had made the decision to sell the condo while promising the Kwong family that she would relocate them. And if I'm living rent-free, getting my place paid for, and the provider saying, hey, let's relocate you, I'll pay for you to live here, and we can find another better place for you to live. I just need to sell this condo. I would not complain, but apparently to the Kwong family, the amount of money that Abby has provided wasn't enough because they didn't want to sell the condo. And because the condo was under Kwong Kao's name, Abby had to contact a lawyer to see if she was still able to sell the apartment. The lawyer had told her that if Abby was able to show proof that she was the main provider for the condo, then it was possible for her to take a sale of the property. And with that information, Abby was considering on continuing on with the sale. But coincidentally, on February 21st, 2023, Abby was reported missing by her husband. Abby had failed to pick up her daughter from school. Chris and his family filed a missing persons report, and according to multiple sources, Abby was last seen getting into the car with her personal driver, Anthony Kwong. But Anthony Kwong was her driver. He took her everywhere. They occasionally went to go pick up the children together from school. So there was nothing out of the ordinary. I just want to put a disclaimer that this part gets really gruesome, so if you'd like to skip to the end, we'll leave a timestamp for you guys to skip to. But unfortunately, Abby did get murdered. 3 days after Abby went missing, Abby's headless body was discovered at a rented Tao Po Village apartment. It was reported that as soon as the police discovered the apartment, they described it to look like a butcher's shop. There was an electric saw, a meat grinder, hammers, and choppers. The entire place was covered in plastic materials. There were face shields and black protective outerwear for the Kwongs to wear while they dismembered Abby's body. 2 dismembered legs were found in the refrigerator of the flat. But the most chilling part about this case is that on February 26th, the rest of Abby's body was found. Her severed head and several of her ribs were found inside a pot made into soup. We have no information on what they did with the soup. We don't know if they consumed it or if it was an attempt to hide the body. I did hear from a podcast from Stephanie Su, Rotten Mango, that she did mention that boiled human body parts would resemble pork in a way, boiled pork. I'm not sure how accurate that information is, but if we think about it, it may have been a way for them to hide the body. Again, we don't know if any part of the soup was consumed. I couldn't find any resources that stated what they did with the soup. All we know is that they used part of her body to make soup. There was also a hole discovered on the right rear of Abby's skull where the detectives believed that Abby was fatally attacked.
The head, okay, is a skull actually. It's no skin or any meat on it. So basically it's a skull with hair, okay. And as as I said, unfortunately, there's a hole on the right side rear on the skull. So the pathologists believe that that should be the fatal attack on the victim.
When they found the remains, they knew exactly who the suspects were. The police arrested Anthony Kwong as well as both of his parents, and they also found out that Kwong Kao, Abby's ex-father-in-law, used to be a police officer, but lost his job allegedly to a rape accusation. But only 3 of the family members were arrested. Alex was nowhere to be found until a woman by the name of Ing Chi Wing, who was apparently known as Kwong Kao's mistress, was arrested for attempting to help Alex flee the city. Alex was caught, and all 4 family members were all formally charged with the murder of Abby Choi. Alex's mother was charged with perverting the course of justice. All 4 were denied bail and are being held in prison awaiting trial. Ing was charged with abetting a murder suspect and has been released on bail. Police theorized that Kwong Kao had been premeditating this murder because of the dispute of selling the luxury condo. Police also discovered that Alex had countless of alleged theft cases, and once was even scheduled to appear in court in 2015 in relation to one of those cases. As a result, he was charged with all of those cases. The police also arrested a few other people. A man by the name of Lam Shun, who was an employee of a yacht rental company, he was accused of attempting to help Alex escape Hong Kong by a boat for 300,000 Hong Kong dollars. He was charged on March 6 and was granted bail. Another suspect that was arrested was Irene Pun Hao Yin, a former friend of Alex Kwong, was arrested on March 7 for also trying to help him to escape. Some people really just need to start minding their own business. She was granted bail and given a travel ban that will prevent her from leaving Hong Kong. Because this case is still really recent, the trial is still ongoing, so I don't have any other information on this case, but in Hong Kong, the death penalty is abolished, but a conviction of a murder carries a mandatory sentence of life imprisonment. A lot of netizens were angry about this. They believe that the Kwong family should be getting death penalty because of how brutal they murdered and tried to hide Abby's body. The scariest part about this case is that they watched Abby grow up. They met Abby when she was 15 years old, a teenage girl. She grew into this beautiful young adult, but they still had the guts to murder and dismember Abby Choi's body because they didn't want to work for their own money, because they wanted to live off of Abby Choi's money. Even though Abby Choi provided almost everything for this family, it wasn't enough. Thousands of fans and netizens offered condolences for Abby Choi.
又對我哋咁好、咁真誠咧，其實咧係得佢，即係喺出事之前啦。其實諗翻係得佢係對我哋即係咁真。
The school that Abby's children attended offered counseling sessions for her children and any other students that were affected by Abby's death. The community of Tai Po's Lung Mei village performed Taoist rituals to calm the spirit of the deceased, and Abby's family members and friends gathered outside the crime scene to show respect. One of Abby's closest friends was another model named Mocha Feng. 2 days after Abby's body was discovered, Mocha made a post saying, "Feeling extremely anguished. I am still unable to accept that this has happened at this moment. I am sad beyond words. I just want to ask why 1,000 times. I'm still overcome by pain and grief. Rest in peace." Chris, Abby's husband, stated that he will take care of all 4 of Abby's children, including the 2 that she had with Alex. Chris said that he was very thankful to have had Abby in his life and praised her for always being supportive. He said, "When Abby was alive, she was a very kind person and always wanted to help people. I feel anyone who had a chance to be her family or friend are blessed."